Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're gonna do my last book haul of 2025. So I counted and I think this haul is like 80 something books, but I thrifted 40 of them. So that makes me feel a little bit better. We're actually gonna start with the books that I thrifted. For the most part, these either came from Goodwill or Madison Books, which is a bookstore local to me. They do have new books, but the majority of their books are used, and so their paperbacks are $1.99 and hardbacks are $2.99, and if the price was different, then I'll let you know. I'm actually going to start with those, and then I think mixed in here there's like one or two that came from somewhere else, and I will let you know where I got those. So first up, I grabbed a copy of Stephen King writing as Richard Bachman. I got The Regulators. This is one that I have not read yet. I got Needled to Death, which is a knitting mystery. I've told you guys before, my favorite cozy mystery series is the Crochet Mysteries by Betty Heichtman, because I love to crochet and I want to get into knitting next year. And so I think this would be a fun one to read and see if I could try to knit the pattern in it. I also found Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and The Raven King. These were new books, so they're priced a little different. So this one was $4.99 and this was $7.99. But they were the two that I needed to finish out the series, and I have actually read these already. I also grabbed 4 Past Midnight because it was $2.99 and I couldn't pass that up. Even though I do have The Langoliers, which is one of the novellas in here, I have it separately, but I did not have the rest of the stories in here, so I went ahead and grabbed that. I also got a copy of The Haunting of Hill House. I did not read this yet, even though I did intend to read it back in October, so I will have to save this for next spooky season. They also had Crescendo and Finale, which are 2 of the books in the Hush Hush series. I just recently talked about these, comparing them to the Raven Cycle, and then I actually ended up finding them, so I need to get the other 2 in the series. This is a series that I read a long time ago, but I would love to do a reread. This is one that I actually got at the Boys Ranch thrift store. So this is Murder at Midnight, which is an Eleanor Roosevelt mystery that was actually written by Elliot Roosevelt, who is Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt's son. So I thought that was interesting. I'm going to check that out at some point. Speaking of mysteries, I got 2 Murder, She Wrote mysteries, A Deadly Judgment and A Palette for Murder. I have read exactly 1 Murder, She Wrote novel. It was the first one, and it did not, I don't think that it was true to the characters of the show. And I'm hoping that if I give them another try, maybe some that were a little later in the series, maybe, hopefully, they will feel more like an episode of the TV show, because Murder, She Wrote is one of my all-time favorite TV shows, and I would really love to have new mysteries that Jessica Fletcher is solving. But if they don't give me the vibes, I'm probably not going to be continuing with trying these. But for $1.99 a piece, I figured I could give them a try. And also, speaking of favorite TV shows of all time, I also grabbed several Kathy Reichs books. These are the books that the TV series Bones is based off of. I got 206 Bones, Bones to Ashes, Death du Jour, Fatal Voyage, and Break No Bones. And I still don't think that I have the first one. At one point in time I looked up the name of the first one, but I don't remember what it is. So I do think I would like to read the first one first, even though it is one of those series that it's possible to read it out of order. So I'll have to look into that and see which one is the first one. One of these maybe, I don't know. I also picked up Murder is Binding, which is a Booktown mystery. It's the first in this series. I love books that are based off of books, especially cozy mysteries. Like if the main character is a bookstore owner or is in like a book club or something like that, I love it. So I'm hoping that this is a good one. I'm always on the lookout for more cozy mystery series to check out. And you can't pick up mysteries without picking up some Agatha Christie. So I picked up Murder in Retrospect and 3-Act Tragedy. They are both Hercule Poirot novels, and I'm excited to check those out. This is another one that was a new but reduced price book, and it was $6.99, and it is The Antique Hunter's Guide to Murder. I love antiques. I love murder mysteries, so hopefully this is a win. I also grabbed 3 more of the Sookie Stackhouse novels. I have to go back and see which ones I might still need. I'm not sure. I know I got this one from a different thrift store, but I can't remember which one. It was like 75 cents, and it is The Name of the Wind. Will I read it? I don't know. I've got a thing about unfinished series, especially ones that have been unfinished for many years with no plans to finish them. I also picked up Rose Madder by Stephen King. This is one that I read a long time ago, but I would love to reread. And I think that brings me to the ones that I got from Goodwill. So I think I can remember when they were half price. So I'll try to let you know what the price was of these. First up is one of the Hardy Boys books, The Secret of the Caves. And it was, this one was half price at the time, so it was $1.25. You guys know that I collect like the yellow cover, the Nancy Drews. I was gonna try to see though if the boys would be interested in reading the Hardy Boys. Obviously I read Nancy Drew as a kid, but I have 2 boys and I feel like they might enjoy the Hardy Boys a little bit better. So I figured we would give it a try, and if they enjoyed it, we could start collecting those as well. This is another Murder, She Wrote book. It's Death of a Blue Blood, and it was 75 cents because it was half price. I found this Anne of Green Gables bind up of all 3 of the books. So it has all 3 of the books in one. Plus this 80s cover is just amazing, I think. I have not yet read Anne of Green Gables. I had it tentatively on my list for this fall, but I didn't get to it, so maybe next year. Oh, and it was $2.49, by the way. I also found a copy of Pride and Prejudice. This is one that I have not read yet, but I figured I should have it on my shelf. I will get to it eventually. I'm not a huge classics reader. I do find that when I am in the mood for them and I read them, I do enjoy them, but I definitely have to be in the mood for a classic. This was $1.49. I also found Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. This was also $1.49 as well. And I have not read this yet, but I did read The Extraordinary Disappointments of Leopold Berry by Ransom Riggs this past year, and I loved it. I can't wait for the second book. Hopefully it comes out next year. But I would definitely like to check this one out as well, because I know this one is supposed to be really good too. I also found this one. It's called Chosen Ones. It's $3.99. Somebody had donated a good little collection of like fantasy, romantasy, YA fantasy, you know, kind of books, and whoever was pricing them knew that they were more popular books, and so they all had like $5.99, $7.99 price tags. It was crazy. I did grab one. I grabbed this one because the synopsis sounded intriguing to me, so hopefully I will get to that at some point. And I also found this really cool illustrated edition of the Da Vinci Code. I didn't even know this existed, but it has like photographs of the different places in the book and some of the pieces of artwork and things that it talks about. And so I'm really excited to add this one to my collection. It was only $1.49 for this. I found The Handmaid's Tale for $1.49, so I grabbed that as well. I told Josh, I think, that either a high school English teacher retired and donated her classroom library, or a once upon a time high school English teacher died and her books got donated, because there were so many classics. And usually the book selection at my Goodwill is not that great. You can find things, but it's definitely like a once in a while thing to find something really good. And there were so many good books, especially classics. So I got really lucky. I found this different bind up of The Hound of the Baskervilles. This is one that I already had, but I had it in paperback. This is a hardback faux leather, very nice edition, and it was only $2.49. I can't remember if this one was half priced, but I would have paid full price for it anyways. $2.49 is not that much. I also got Joyland by Stephen King. This was $2.49. They also had another one of the Game of Thrones books. This was $3.99, which is still better than it would be buying at full price. And eventually I do want to collect and read this series. But again, it's one of those things, knowing that the next book has there's no plans for the next book. It's not a series that I'm prioritizing right now. But if I do continue to come across this specific bind up of the different books, I'm gonna grab them, because I did get the first one, and so I'll just collect these as I find them. I found the unofficial Harry Potter cookbook for $2.49, so I grabbed that. Not this past Halloween, but the Halloween before that, me and the boys had like a Harry Potter movie marathon, and it would have been really fun to have this to cook some of the recipes out of, to go with our little like Harry Potter day that we had. So I'm excited to have this, and maybe we'll do that maybe for Harry's birthday or September the 1st or something like that. I also found The Looking Glass Wars for $2.49. I have not read this, but I am obsessed, as you guys can probably tell, with Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. It's my favorite book of all time, and so I love getting different retellings of that story or spin-offs of that story, and so I'm going to get to this at some point. This was $2. It's $3.99, but it was half price, I'm pretty sure. This one is Hallowed Bones, and it says it's a Mississippi Delta mystery, but it had like had some kind of like Mardi Gras vibes going on. It's got like a jack-o'-lantern and stuff, so I got it thinking I might read it during fall, but I did not get to it. And then I also found The Phoenix Unchained and The Phoenix Endangered, which is book 1 and 2 of the Enduring Flame trilogy by Mercedes Lackey and James Mallory, and these were both $2.49 a piece. I could not find the third book. I'm pretty sure there's a third book. I think I looked it up and there was a third book, but I definitely will be trying to find that one. I said I was gonna make like the OG fantasy authors a priority in 2025, and I did not. I just typed up all of the books that I read this year along with their publication date, which Goodreads sometimes gets wrong, so I really do need to go back and double check all of mine, but I know that none of them were like the Mercedes Lackey, Robin Hobb, all of those like OG fantasy authors that I wanted to read. But 2026, I'm definitely going to be making those authors a priority. Okay, so that is all of my thrifted books. So I think next I'm going to go through my book subscription books. Now, because I'm now getting into, for the most part, newer books, I am probably going to tell you a little bit about these, because I feel like you would be more interested in them than old books that I just thrifted. The Heartbreak Hotel was my September book of the month pick. I did already read this one. It was about a woman who found out her boyfriend was cheating on her. In the very, very beginning of the book, it talks about this. So they're splitting up, and she wants to keep their house. He's like a musician, makes a lot of money, whatever. She wants to keep the house, but she can't afford it, and so she goes to the landlord with this plan of creating like a bed and breakfast, and he can get all of the proceeds for it or whatever. She just wants to be able to stay in the house. The two of them do end up you know, getting involved with each other, and that is this story. One Bad Night and Other Stories is an Aardvark exclusive. They did this bind up of short stories from authors that they have spotlighted in the past. So Kay Chronister, Dale Sandine, Kylie Lee Baker, Rachel Harrison, CJ Lee, Jennifer Thorne, S.A. Barnes, and Stephen Graham Jones all have stories in here. I did not read this one this past October, so I will probably either read it during Summerween or October of next year, or at some other point if I decide that I want a spooky read. Kill the Beast was my November Aardvark pick, and I thought it was going to be like a Beauty and the Beast kind of thing, but it actually says The Witcher meets Howl's Moving Castle, which I think is interesting. So this woman, her brother is killed by the Beast, and she's kind of made it her life mission to hunt him down. There's this man who found a claw from the Beast, and she needs that to forge a weapon that will kill him. And then I think maybe the two of them maybe start a relationship. I don't know, haven't read it yet, but I do want to get to this one. This is another one that I really want to get to. This was also November from Book of the Month, and it is Violet Thistlethwaite is Not a Villain Anymore. She was apparently some type of like an assistant to the villain kind of situation, and he's dead, and so she has retired. She finds a quiet town to settle down in, but it says a mysterious blight endangers every living plant, and her and I think maybe her neighbor, oh no, they share a greenhouse. She's sharing a greenhouse with a handsome Nathaniel Marsh, an alchemist, and a blight is endangering their plants, and so they must work together to figure out what's going on. So that is one that I definitely want to get to as well. And I also picked up Bride and Mate from Aardvark because they had both of them, and I just want to read them and I haven't got to them yet. My October pick from Book of the Month was The Haunting of Payne's Hollow, and I believe this woman's grandfather dies, and there was some kind of a situation where her father was like convicted of murdering a kid or something, and she gets the family cottage, but she has to stay there for a month, and apparently in that time she's going to realize that her father was actually innocent. So her and her aunt go to stay at the cabin for a month, and apparently something happens. There's something there. I also grabbed Hemlock and Silver from Book of the Month. I got it as my audiobook pick one of the months, I can't remember, but then the next month it was available as an add-on, so I added it onto my order, and I did read this one. So far this is my favorite T. Kingfisher of all. This is a retelling of Snow White. I love T. Kingfisher's fairy tale retellings. They always kind of take it and twist it in a unique and fun way. I especially love what she did with mirror worlds in here, because of course in Snow White you have the wicked stepmother, the apple, and the magic mirror, and so all of those elements are in here, but definitely a unique spin on that story, and I loved this one. Plus I love how she gives her more mature female characters love stories. Our main character in here is 36, I believe, and she gets a love story, and a sorceress comes to call, like the spinster sister or whatever gets a love story, and I think that that's refreshing. And then finally, my December pick from Book of the Month is Good Spirits. I have not read this one yet, but I would like to. If you've seen my last video that I posted, I read 24 Christmas books in a row, and when I got done with that, I just kind of wasn't really feeling another Christmas romance, so I'm gonna put this aside for now. But this one sounds interesting. The woman is visited by the ghost of Christmas past, but apparently she's not a bad person. I think it's gonna be more of one of those things that she was more kind to other people than she was to herself. And she apparently ends up falling in love with the ghost of Christmas past that comes to her. So I will get to that one maybe next Christmas. From there, let's look at my pre-orders that have come in the last little while. First up, one that I was greatly anticipating is the illustrated interactive edition of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Manalima did 1, 2, and 3, and then they stopped. So I think Scholastic is the publisher entity, whatever, that is now going to be publishing the remaining books in this format. The artwork is similar enough that the books feel cohesive without looking like it was trying to like steal the art style. I love these editions. They are my favorite. I love having the interactive pieces. So like this is the tent that they took to the World Cup. And then the Dark Mark. So this is my favorite edition of this series that I have so far, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is one of 5 versions of this series that I have, and this is so far definitely my favorite, and I'm so glad that they continued to make these. And I can say that when you line them up, number 4 does look very similar to 1, 2, and 3, so they are going to blend well on your bookshelf, even though the publishing situation changed. I also got my copy of Brimstone. I have not read it yet. I was going to read it. I reread Quicksilver because back in November that was our book club book because the second book was coming out, and I was going to jump right into it, but my mom jumped right into it and my sister jumped in right behind her. And because of the like cliffhanger and stuff in this book, I feel like it might be a smarter idea for me to save it until closer to time for book 3 and then read it. I also got this special edition of Howl's Moving Castle. This is one that I read last year and I loved it. It's one of my favorites. And I knew I wanted to add this book to my collection, and when they said that they would be coming out with a special edition, I waited to get that. So you've got like the shooting stars. It says Howl's quite heartless, you know. And then inside it's got like a scene from inside the castle. You've got Calcifer down here, and then the same view but with the perspective shifted. And then it also has like the shooting stars on the sprayed edges as well. If you have not read Howl's Moving Castle, the main character Sophie kind of crosses a witch and a curse is put on her, and she can't tell anyone that she's cursed. It changes her appearance so people don't recognize her, and she goes to the moving castle, Howl's Moving Castle, thinking that that would be the only place that she might be able to get help to break this curse. Howl is a sorcerer. Everybody is scared of him, and she will end up finding that things are not really what they seem and what people say that they are. And then also there is a found family aspect of this book that I absolutely adored, and I think everybody should read this book. It's a great book. I also pre-ordered The Secret of Secrets. I am so excited to read this book, and I have not yet, and I'm really itching to, so I think this is going to be a priority read for January for me. I have read all of the Robert Langdon novels, some of them multiple times. I kind of was kicking around the idea of reading them all again to prepare for this, but I don't know. I have really and truly no idea what it's about. I want to go in blind, so I'm not going to be any help to you. I haven't read anything about this book. The only thing that I know is it takes place in Prague, or at some point takes place in Prague. and that's all I can tell you. The baby's crying. These two books I've already read. I read them back in, I don't know, like March or something like that. I don't know. Earlier in the year. And I did not realize that even before I read them, I pre-ordered these paperback editions from, I think, maybe Thrift Books or something like that. And so imagine my surprise when they showed up because I forgot pre-ordering them. These are gorgeous editions of these books. I gave both of them 3 stars. I was expecting it to be like The Mummy because that is the comp title that was given, and you know, it kind of sold it as The Mummy, and it's not. So her parents go missing in Egypt and they're presumed dead, and she goes to figure out the truth of what happened to them. There is all sorts of betrayals in this book. Her uncle is the one that's like in charge of the group, the expedition that her parents were on, and he does end up allowing her to stay finally, but she ends up just kind of being sucked into this big like conspiracy when she goes to find out what happened to her parents. My biggest issue with this is the fact that well, 2 things were my issue with this. The first thing being, it did not give Mummy vibes at all, especially the romance aspect. It is a romance story, and I felt like the love interest was a little problematic, and also the fact that it is YA, but book 2 does have sex in it, and I don't know, I feel like it should not have been marketed as YA. I feel like it should have been marketed as adult or new adult, if you know, you want to call that a category. In What the River Knows, at the very end, there is a character that is brutally murdered, and that combined with the sex scenes from book 2, I just don't think that it should be marketed as YA personally. But you know, I'm not a book publisher. Okay, let's try again. The baby's asleep, but he's probably gonna be going home in about 20 minutes, so I'm gonna finish this up. Okay, so these are the books that I got off of Amazon. So first up, Trick or Treat Murder was our October book club pick. I was looking for a cozy mystery that was Halloween themed, and this is one that I ended up picking, and we all hated it. We all gave it 2 stars. I don't know, it just wasn't a good cozy mystery. It didn't have the likable, memorable characters. Her friend kept telling her she was fat all the time, but then she fit into her 11-year-old son's baseball costume or uniform, whatever. So obviously she's not fat. So I don't know, it just wasn't a good one. And then she didn't even figure out she didn't solve the mystery. She accidentally was in the place where the killer was and got like knocked out and almost burned to death, and then the killer tries to kill her again, and that's when she realizes who it is, after he's like, yeah, I did it. Okay, anyways, I also bought the Halloween tree because I was going to read it for Halloween, and I didn't get to it, so maybe next year. I got books 2 and 3 in the Raiders of Arcana series. I think that's how you say that. Anyways, I am so excited about book 2 because this one is set in Egypt. The first one, Empire of Shadows, was in maybe South America or something like that. I can't even remember now. I read the first one in this vlog that I did where I was trying to read books that gave The Mummy, Indiana Jones, or Romancing the Stone vibes. And I read that one as one of the Mummy books, and it absolutely did give Mummy vibes. Mummy and Romancing the Stone, and even Indiana Jones a little bit too. Like, all of that bundled up together was this first book of the series, and I am so excited to get back into this. I also picked up 3 Shattered Souls. I have books 1 and 2, so I went ahead and got book 3 just so that I could be sure that I got the matching sprayed edges just in case, but I have not read them yet. So we'll get to those as well. These 2 I picked up from Walmart. I have Until the World Falls Down, which my sister actually recommended to me. This is supposed to be Labyrinth meets Beauty and the Beast, and I cannot wait to read this. Labyrinth is my all-time favorite movie, followed by Beauty and the Beast and Alice in Wonderland. Those kind of are a little bit neck and neck, but Labyrinth is like my all-time favorite movie, and I cannot wait to read a book that gives me those same vibes. And then The Poison King is the sequel to Impossible Creatures, which I read this year. It is a middle grades series, and I saw this exclusive edition at Walmart with these gorgeous sprayed edges, and so I had to grab it. So I have book number 1 with like the plain red sprayed edges, which I also got at Walmart. And I don't know that this had exclusive like cute sprayed edges or if it just had the red. But you know, they don't, even the covers, like they don't look like they go together all that much, other than they're like bright colors, I guess. But anyways, so I did get that. I gave the first book 4 stars, and I am interested to get back into that series. And these are the ones that I bought at Books A Million, and I've got to hurry because my camera is about to die. Yay. Okay. Zom Rom-Com was one of my most surprising reads of the year. I gave this 5 stars. I loved it. I did talk about it in my last wrap-up, so if you want more information, you can go there. But this book was really, really good, and it is supposed to be a series, so I'm going to keep my eye out on when book 2 is set to come out. I got Starling House. I did read this one. I gave it 5 stars as well. It was just a really good book. It is also in that wrap-up. Murder at Cape Costumers, I read in my birthday vlog. So if you have not seen that one, it was my birthday vlog, so I think you should go and check it out, give it a like. And this book I read because the author has the same birthday as me, November 2nd. But as far as a book, it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. Ghost Written, I read back in October. I did do a review of this in my last wrap-up, but it was 5 stars. I read The Scorpio Races in my birthday vlog as well, and I gave this 5 stars. My most disappointing read of the year was The Hex Girls, A Rogue Thorn. As a serious Scooby-Doo lover, a Scooby-Doo loving family, we're constantly watching Scooby in this household. I was really, really looking forward to reading this book, and it really, really let me down, unfortunately. I gave this 2 stars. I also got book 2 and 3 in the Cruel Prince trilogy because I get books from a different interrelated series, and I didn't have these 2, so I grabbed these 2. I don't know how I did that. I got Daughter of Darkness by Terry Brooks because it was on sale for $5. I did not even read this one to figure out what it was about. It does say it's the 2nd novel in an all-new fantasy series, so we'll have to go back and find the first one. But Terry Brooks is one of my all-time favorite authors, so I definitely had to pick this one up at such a good price. So this is one that I talked about in my fall TBR book buffet video. I just did not get to it. This is another book that I talked about in that potential fall TBR video that I also did not get to, but I would really like to. I also picked up My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. It was on sale for $5.97. I also have You Like It Darker by Stephen King. It was on sale for $9.97. It's got a sticker for a totally different book randomly stuck on it. And like the entire time I was thinking that this was like a picture of an island, And I like just recently realized that that's an alligator. So I will read that at some point. I also grabbed this one at Books A Million. They have several of these like anthology kind of things. I got Chilling Horror short stories, and it says Gothic Fantasy on it. I was thinking I would do like one story a day during the month of October, and I just had such a huge TBR going on, and I actually just lost interest in spooky reads before October was even over, unfortunately. So we'll try again another time. And I would like to get a few more of these different collections so that I have like a variety of short stories. I also picked up Cat Dragon because I thought that it sounded really cute. Again, I'm pretty sure all of the rest of these books I talk about in that same book buffet video. This one at the time was not on Kindle Unlimited, and I'm pretty sure now it is. So I paid full price for a book that I still haven't read, and now I could have got it on Kindle Unlimited. So it is what it is. This one was also on sale. I just already pulled off the sticker, but this is the Caramel Pecan Roll Murder. And yes, I 100% got this because I wanted a recipe for caramel pecan rolls. Could I have looked that up on the internet? Yes, but now I also have a book to read along with it. I also picked up Death by Spice Chai, which was again one of the clearance books that I've already pulled the sticker off of, so I don't know how much it cost. But I think the person got hit over the head with, yeah, the murder weapon was a teapot full of Chrissy's favorite spice chai. So I think the main character in this one has been like accused of the murder, and so she has to figure out who actually did it. And it's also a bookstore cafe mystery. And like I said, I love a mystery, especially when it involves like a bookstore or a bookstore owner or a book enthusiast or whatever. I grabbed a copy of Dracula by Bram Stoker. I was thinking that this was potentially going to be something that I read in my birthday vlog, but I did not. I read Sally's Lament. I really enjoyed this one. This was the story of what if Sally was the one that discovered Christmas Town. And I thought it was a really fun spin on one of my favorite Halloween / Christmas movies. I don't know which camp you fall into. I watch it all year long, so it's an all the time movie for me. When I went to go get my fall and spooky season reads, I specifically went for this book. And then I read like 2 chapters of it and just laid it down and never picked it back up. I went to other things. I didn't consciously DNF this book, but I am stopping for now, and I'm just going to pick it back up next fall. This is supposed to have Gilmore Girl vibes. It's set in 1997, small town Vermont, and I was like, say less, I'm getting that. I also picked up Tusk Love. This book is a book in a game of Dungeons and Dragons. Like, the book exists in the game, and then somebody wrote the book. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. And then finally, I picked up Tailored Realities by Brandon Sanderson because, of course, I did. I have to still read the other books that kind of have some information spoiled by these short stories. I had to look it up. So I'm going to read all of his, like, Skyward and all of that before I read this. I've read all of the Cosmere, so I think in 2026 I'm going to tackle all of his other things so that I'll be totally caught up on all things Brandon Sanderson. And then finally, birthday and Christmas books. These I got for my birthday. You can see them in the birthday vlog. I talk about them there. I'm not going to right now because my battery's about to die. And then my sister for Christmas got me One Dark Window, a special beautiful sprayed edges edition, and this is going to be our January book club pick. So I am going to start this ASAP. And that is it. That is all for this haul. That is all for 2025. Next year book hauls are going to look a little bit different, but I will explain that in a coming video. That is all for now. Hopefully I will see you in another video soon. Bye guys.